sentence you to a term of 60 years in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Corrections. Because you're doing so many bad things, you can't remember who you do them with.
No.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly true.
Can you state your name for the record?
Joseph Freeman.
And Mr. Freeman, you are the defendant in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you have pled guilty to the offenses of the aggravated robbery, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, the state has brought some evidence about a deadly conduct, a shooting that occurred a few months earlier. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You want to tell the judge what happened in that case?
We was riding our bikes through the neighborhood, and a guy and my cousin or my friend, I can't remember which one it was, but they had an argument at the house earlier, and they saw each other. They started arguing. He pulled out a gun, and I began firing shots.
Okay. Now, who is your cousin?
My cousin's name is Kerry Kirkwood.
Okay, but who was with you when you were riding bikes?
It was me, JK, and Third.
So you're telling the court that you shot at the guy, I think his name was Palmer, because Palmer had a gun?
Yes, sir.
And he had gotten into a confrontation with your cousin?
Yes, sir.
Were you afraid that he might shoot you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's talk about the aggravated robbery that you pled guilty to, right? Because you were out there at that time when these people got their car stolen, right?
Yes, sir.
Who was with you that day?
Charles Verdon, and I can't remember the other guy's name. His name Red. I don't know his real name.
Okay, but y'all call him Red?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and who pulled the woman out of the car?
Charles Verdon.
Okay, he was the one that threatened to kill her?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what did you do?
When I got in the car.
Okay, so you were there with him, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you have a gun that day?
No, sir.
All right. With regard to the murder case that they've accused you of, was that you in the red and black pants?
Yes, sir.
When you went up to the car, did you know that Kaylon Johnson was going to shoot anybody?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you have a gun?
No, sir.
Did you get shot?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else you would like to tell the judge regarding what I'll pass it.
Thank you, Ms. Malfino.
Good afternoon, Mr. Freeman. Okay, let's go back to the deadly conduct. You're saying that David Palmer's lying?
I'm not saying that he lied. I'm saying that he had a gun that I fired back at him.
Did anybody ever say that he had a gun?
No, nobody ever said that.
Why'd you run? Why'd you run from Officer Ortega?
I was scared. I had fear of the cops.
Why?
Because on Instagram and TikTok, they show cops killing people. I didn't want to be the next one dead.
Ran from the cops because you knew you'd done something wrong, didn't you?
No, that's why I stopped.
So we're supposed to take your word for it over Mr. Palmer. Yes or no? Are we supposed to take your word for it or Mr. Palmer's?
I guess mine because he's not here.
Okay. But we heard the officer testify about the gunshots in his vehicle. We see you run. And what do we see you with in your pocket? A loaded 9mm Taurus, right? What were you doing with it?
I had it for my protection. They had people that been shooting at my house and my auntie house.
So judge is supposed to believe that on the day of the deadly conduct, that you clearly can't deny it because she saw you on the screen with the Taurus in your pocket and the 2 mags in your back pocket, right? That you had a gun that day. Yes. But all these other times you didn't have a gun on you?
No, ma'am.
And you didn't know that criminal activity was going to be happening?
I knew that criminal activity was going to be happening, but I wasn't expecting for them to do it while I was around.
So you knew what you guys were doing. Y'all were just running as a little group of thugs, right? All over the south end of Beaumont, doing whatever you want with loaded firearms in your pockets, shooting at people, holding people up, and eventually murdering people, right? All when you're 19 years old, 18, 19 years old. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
How many people are out there at the jail with you right now? They're in the same kind of predicament. Your age, young, violent offenders who repeatedly terrorize Beaumont. How many? A lot, right? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
You know some of them.
Yes, ma'am.
You want her to believe you over Miss Flores and Mr. Ortega, who both identify you in a lineup as being involved in the aggravated robbery, carjacking of them. What happened that night? You telling me that the fingerprint where she says she got pulled out by her hair of the backseat of the car at gunpoint, that's yours, that's consistent with her saying, I was so scared to death, I went from the front seat to the back seat. And then it was Charles Birding who did it? Or was it you who did it?
It was Charles Birding. I got in the back seat of the car. That's how my fingerprint got there.
Why? Was that your car?
No, ma'am.
So y'all were steal the car too, huh?
I just wanted to ride home.
To where? Home where?
To my pop's house on Merrily Lane in the West End.
Mm-hmm. You ever stay at 4395 Avenue A?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you just wanted to ride home, so you're going to steal those poor people's car at gunpoint, and you're telling me that you're a young man, able-bodied, even younger at the time, in good shape, can't walk from Saks to Avenue A to lay your head down? Are you
I went
serious?
to go to my pop's house in the West End.
Could you have walked to the West End too?
That's a far walk.
So let's just steal a car instead and carjack people at gunpoint because you want to go to your pop's house? Does that make any sense, Joseph?
No, ma'am.
It doesn't make any sense. So we're not supposed to believe Mr. Palmer. We're not supposed to believe Miss Flores. We're not supposed to believe Mr. Arcadia. Poor Joseph just happens to always be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you never know what all your running buddies who you've been running with for years with weapons in your pockets are going to do you? You're just oblivious to what Ronald, Charles, and Kalon do.
I ain't know Ronald.
You know you knew Kalon.
Yeah.
We see you on the video with Kalon at the time of the homicide, and we see you on the evading video and the show up to David Palmer with who? Also there, in handcuffs, Kalon. And you're telling this judge, you really want her to give you mercy and you're going to sit there and laugh. So are you saying that when you got out of the car, of his car?
I ran away from him.
Why didn't you call the police and tell them somebody had just shot you?
Because I was scared. They told me not to call the police.
Who?
Charles and Kayla.
You knew you were going there to do a dope grip, didn't you?
No, ma'am, I did.
You were going there to buy drugs. So were you going there to commit a crime? Is buying drugs illegal?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're going there to commit a crime and somebody ends up dead, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how you're not involved as a party to that homicide and that engaging in criminal activities of narcotics. How? Is that you on the video in the red and black pants?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? You never admitted that to the cops. The first time you admitted that is right now. Right?
Yeah, I admitted it to my lawyer too.
Well, I'm not privy to your conversations with your lawyer. No, I want to be. I'm asking you, is that you on the video?
Yes, ma'am.
But you've never told the truth about that to anybody other than your lawyer until today, have you?
I haven't.
When Detective Detective Hamilton came to talk to you, Mr. Freeman, what'd you say? And it's your constitutional right. I love my lawyer. I'm not saying anything, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So did you have your opportunity way back in November of 2023 to give your version of events?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you?
No, ma'am.
But now you want Judge to believe what you have to say today when she's got 2 first-degree felonies over your head. You want her to believe you today?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing up in Denton running around?
I was out there working, fixing cars and stuff.
Why didn't you stop for the police?
Because I was scared. My uncle told me to keep driving.
So it's always somebody else's fault, right,
He
Judge?
told me to keep driving. That's what I did. I was just following orders.
Just like you were following orders to go and attempt to rob and then kill Richard Shiloh, right? Let's go rip this dealer of some weed, right?
Was planning to rob.
Why are you running around Beaumont all over the South End with guns, weed, running from the cops? Why? If you're not doing anything wrong, why are you behaving that way?
Probably 20-something.
The judge has them in front of her. She sees them all. What are you being written up for? And why can't you behave when you're in there?
Because some officers just don't like me for the crowd that's above my head.
So again, it's always somebody else's fault. It's David Palmer's fault. It's Ms. Flores' fault. It's Ms. Ortega's fault. Mr. Ortega's fault. It's Richard Shiloh's fault. It's the jailer's fault. None of it's Joseph Freeman's fault, right?
This is for some of the stuff I did too.
You're out there being disrespectful. You're fighting. You're acting like the same thug that wants to run around the south end of Beaumont with loaded weapons and commit crimes that just keep going like this. You're probably too young to know that show Price is Right, where that little guy keeps going up the mountain. This is you, Joseph Freeman. Let's not start off with, stealing some bubble gum from the 7-Eleven. Let's just start off as soon as you're an adult. Deadly conduct. You could have killed David Palmer, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's run from the cops. They could have shot you. You're so scared of cops. They didn't. Did they act professionally? You saw Officer Ortega after she had to chase you north, south, and west, all over the South. Because you knew you had done wrong by shooting at David Palmer, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Kaylon's out there too, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that just a coincidence that it's you and Kaylon on that video?
No,
Killing
ma'am.
Richard Shiloh? Is that just a coincidence y'all happen to be at the same place on those particular 2 days?
No, ma'am.
Okay. But you want Judge to give you leniency and mercy, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't you think that happened up in Denton? Somehow? When some prosecutor up there decided to offer you 3 years deferred after you had done all this, maybe they just didn't know about it. Bet you if they knew about it, you wouldn't be on deferred probation. You got a motion to revoke up there?
No, ma'am. I got it before I came here.
You got a motion to revoke?
No, I had got probation before I came here.
So technically, if you haven't been revoked off that probation, you're acting in that fashion out in the jail while you're on probation. What is one of your rules of probation? To be courteous to others, to follow the rules. You can't follow the rules when you're inside, much less outside. Right, Joseph? You
Can't follow the rules.
You can't?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
what you've shown us with all this evidence that you can follow the rules? Do you need to be back out in Beaumont?
Yes, ma'am.
You do. So that someone else can be terrorized by you?
No, ma'am.
That's an issue.
There's something that I want cleared up, and I don't know if we'll get it cleared up, with regard to Mr. Freeman after the murder, not before, but after on the video with a possible weapon. Where'd that come from?
He had it in the car.
Who did?
Richard Shiloh. That's the weapon that he pulled out on me.
That video, was that the gun that Richard shot you with?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You didn't go there with a gun, did you?
No, sir.
Trying to recall. You can have a seat.
That's all I have, Judge.
Mr. Coleman, I see, is here, and Mike can help. I'm trying to recall from the murder case, the casings that were found in Mr. Shiloh's car. Were there 2 different guns worth of casings, or was it, do you even recall? And it's not that important, honestly. I was just something that's,
I don't want to misstate.
yeah, I can't remember. Okay. That's all right. Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Then, Mr. Radford, you may make argument.
Judge, I'm going to be brief because you are going to do what you do, and that's how judges do. I just wanted to remind or ask the court to think about the sentences that all these other people got. I would submit to the court that Charles Verdine and Kalen Johnson were involved in all this other stuff too, because it looks like they were all running around together. My client got involved with the wrong group of people. There's no doubt about that. He's admitted to committing these robberies. And I would ask the court just to consider the punishments that these other guys have gotten in their cases, and acknowledge that Mr. Freeman has pled guilty. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Malfino or Mr. Coleman?
Well, have we talked about that yet? We didn't talk about that. It is. Your Honor, I'll refer to State's Exhibit number 2 here, this map from the court's information. It shows this layout of where the defendant at one point lived on Avenue A, and where the shooting occurred, and where the evading on foot occurred, and where the ultimately on Virginia Street, where Richard Shiloh was murdered. Your Honor, I submitted to the court that this is within, if I can approach, within a 1 mile radius in this neighborhood, this particular neighborhood, a neighborhood where people in our community just want to live, work, raise their families, and just have some sort of peace. Hardworking people who don't live behind in a gated community, who are just doing the best they can. Having grown up in a neighborhood like that myself, I understand, Judge, that it is the 2%, 3% of the people who live in that neighborhood that terrorize the people in that neighborhood. And this defendant, Joseph Freeman, is that 2 or 3% of the people. He, again, within a 1 mile radius, is out terrorizing and using firearms and acts of violence with, at least on one other occasion, the same individual that he committed ultimately this felony murder as a party involving Richard Shiloh. And you've got all the information you need. You've seen the other trials. You've heard the evidence in those other cases. You got to look. What's applicable here is that unlike the other defendants, they weren't on probation for aggravated robbery. This defendant was on probation for aggravated robbery.
No. He pled guilty to the aggravated robberies.
He had committed an aggravated robbery.
Correct.
And unlike those other 2 defendants, I think that merits a higher punishment than what the other defendants got, Your Honor. And with that being said, I think the court has everything it needs, all of the evidence that it needs. Judge, this is one of those cases, and you've seen it time and time again. Nothing less than 50 years, Judge, is what this defendant deserves. Thank you.
The co-defendant I want to make sure, Mr. Freeman, part of the reason I wanted to look back and see what I did is because I honestly feel like all 4 of you co-defendants in the murder, in my opinion, got off too easy. One of them was an agreement, and I understand why that agreement was reached. Came up first, was honest very quickly, and did what he needed to do to take care of his business. Didn't have other criminal history that I can recall, and that's Kalen. Now, it sounds like he was obviously involved in a lot of other stuff that, and really until today, I don't know that everybody knew about. And today you've decided to give us some more information, because in your pre-sentence report, with regard to the 2 ag robberies that you're here for today, you specifically said your version to the pre-sentence report officer was that you were with your cousin, and your cousin saw a couple of people sit in a car, and your cousin ran up and took the car at gunpoint. You were there, didn't know he was going to do it, but it was wrong. So you're mentioning one person, a cousin.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's not true, is it?
It's true. I mentioned his friend because I forgot he was there.
Because you're doing so many bad things, you can't remember who you do them with. Yeah, it is. That's exactly true. I sat up here today and I did a chart. I did a timeline because it's hard for me when there's so many things going on that someone's doing bad that to keep up with all of it and to really get an understanding of it. At 18 years old, October of 21, you're arrested that day for the deadly conduct. You make a bond in that case, and then you just decide, got away with that. I'm out on bond. Let me go do all this other stuff. Let me go drag a girl out of a car at gunpoint, steal it with my friends or cousin or whoever. Let me go be involved in the murder or whatever it was going to be of Richard Shiloh. I don't think y'all probably went there to murder him, but I think y'all went there to do more than just buy drugs. He's a drug dealer. Everybody knew that. It came out in that other trial. He is not going to, in most cases, your drug dealer is not going to do something to harm his business. He wants to keep selling drugs. So y'all had the gun, in my opinion. Y'all were trying to take the drugs and not have to pay for them. And he had a gun because he's a drug dealer to protect himself and tried to shoot at y'all. And y'all shot back. And that's what happens in drug deals when you go to steal drugs from a drug dealer. But you're not afraid of having a gun and shooting at people. I don't know who had the gun in these 2 ag robberies, but y'all get the car, you get away. You have the car, the people are out of their car, and you still shoot at them. You could have just killed those 2 innocent people. You've already got their gun, you've already got the car. We're lucky you're not here on a murder of Mr. Palmer, that you're not here on a murder of Ms. Flores, that you're not here on a murder of Mr. Ortega, because you're just running, and who knows what else. Because typically when someone gets caught, usually they've already done a bunch of stuff that they didn't get caught for. All the shootings that are going on that are not solved in that small area of town, I'm betting that at least for some amount of time, they've slowed down because you have been in jail. And Charles Verdine's been in jail, and Kaylin Johnson and Ronald Babineau, because you're a menace to our community. I got the letters and I read the letters, and I understand that your family loves you and they should love you, your family. But a couple of things that stuck out to me that are just showing the denial of the lifestyle that you were living, that they had to have known someone about. You weren't just home hanging out. You were on the streets hanging out. Your mom says, my son's a good kid. He got caught up with a bad crowd. And that's come up. How many times have you said, well, I was hanging out with the wrong people. I really wasn't doing that. I was hanging out with the wrong people. You are the wrong person. You are the bad crowd. I mean, clearly, he's a good role model for his younger siblings. I can't even grasp that. A good role model, shooting in a deadly conduct at 18 years old, committing 2 aggravated robberies later, still 18 years old, hadn't even turned 19 years old yet, and a murder 8 days after that. Then you take off and you're running from the cops in Denton County. In my opinion, you're running from the cops because you know you probably have 4 felony warrants for your arrest, not because somebody just told you to run from the cops. Anyway, all that being said, the only thing I can do, in my opinion, is to try to make sure that everyone in our community is protected for as long as possible, that I think is reasonable considering the cases, the sentences in the other cases as well. But your history and what you did, in my opinion, rises to a whole nother level. So in cause number 22-39679, find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time find you guilty of aggravated robbery. Sentence you to a term of 60 years in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Corrections. You will receive credit on that sentence for any time that you've been in custody that the law gives you the right to receive. There will be an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon in that case. Cause number 22-40981. find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time find you guilty of aggravated robbery, sentence you to a term of 60 years in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Corrections. You will also receive credit on that sentence for any time that you've been in custody that the law gives you the right to receive. These cases will run concurrently, which means together at the same time. I'm going to hand you the trial court certification in each of these cases. These were not agreements. You do have some rights to appeal. You can talk to Mr. Radford about that. I'm also handing you a written admonishment regarding your ineligibility to possess a firearm or ammunition. This is important because you're young and you will make parole at some time. And it is, hopefully you will not get out and continue doing the same things. But because of these judgments, you are not allowed to have a firearm or ammunition in the state of Texas. Possession of a firearm or ammunition could lead to more charges, felony charges against you. Firearm's a legal term. Read that admonishment to see what devices qualify as a firearm. If you have any questions about the laws that make you ineligible to possess a firearm or ammunition, or about how long that lasts, you can talk to Mr. Radford. All right, he'll hand those to you. Anything else, Mr. Coleman, Ms. Malfino?
No.
Anything else, Mr. Radford?
Amen.
All right, so we still obviously have the deadly conduct case and the murder case pending. Mr. Coleman and Mr. Radford, if y'all want to discuss any options on those, at this time, what I'll do is just set those two cases now for review. I need them taken care of, I guess, one way or the other. Before too long. Obviously, we can wait and see what happens on these for some amount of time as well. All right, court's adjourned.